Okay, my friends. Here we are. We're live once again. Ta-da! Made it. There was a few tech issues I had coming back, but I'm here. Are you? Are you here? Woohoo! Loo-loo! I'm here. Are you? Elaine Marolakos Edelson with Astrology Mojo. Want to help you get your mojo back. So come and join me and tell me how you're doing today and what new and wonderful things are happening in this retrograde experience. Let's see. I'm just going to check my mic. All right. Everything's going okay. And so just come and say hello to me. Let's talk about what happens in a Mercury in retrograde, especially in a Venus retrograde. That's what we're going to talk about today. I took a survey of past events, and I'm going to post those dates so you can also check your calendars against that, those dates, those Venus and retrograde dates, to see what might be coming back. So, if you're new to me, then you don't know that I say that astrology is a very ancient technique of reading the possibilities in your life and the roadblocks. It's a different point of view. And through the lens of astrology, and again, the planets don't make you do anything. We live in a cooperation with the cosmos so that when the planets make a move, you feel it. When you make a move, it's reflected by way of aspects and angles in astrology. So basically, astrology tells you what time it is. And telling you what time it is, it could mean, is it time for wealth, health, passion, purpose? Is it time for you to take a rest? Is it time for you to go deep within? And when you experience a Mercury in retrograde, all planets go retrograde. And when you experience a Mercury in retrograde in your chart, it helps to give you clues as to where to turn in and look toward your own shadow, especially in the sign of Pisces. The planets are not doing anything to you. And so with that understanding, you can take back your power, okay? It's not because Mars is in Capricorn that, you got a ticket for speeding. It's because you were speeding. But like reading a chart tells me in the collective, in a personal individual chart, what's happening in that person's life or in the collective experience. Because it's the timing of things. It's like looking at a lab report. You get your blood taken and the doctor says, oh, you're a little low in vitamin D. Did the lab report cause that? No, you have power. So I want you to remember that, okay? No matter what's happening in your life, you have the power to transform. Hoorah! Let's do that. Let's do that. We're going to talk about, I took a survey, and I'm going to put those dates up in just a second. Come say hello to me. Hi, Nadi. What a beautiful name. Okay, we're in a Mercury in retrograde, and we're going to talk about a Venus in retrograde. A retrograde helps you to go within. Now, do the planets actually move backwards in space? No, they do not. What happens is, from the perspective of the Earth, a planet, all the planets are revolving on the elliptic around the sun, okay? So when we're here, let me get one of my, okay, hang on. Here's the Earth, okay? And here's a planet, and everybody's doing this around the sun. If I had 8 more arms, 9 more arms, I could just do the whole constellation. Wouldn't that be fun? Hey, kids, science project. So as we're all moving, we're also spinning. All the planets are spinning while they're on the elliptic around the sun. From the perspective of the Earth, what happens is when a planet is doing its thing, it sometimes appears to move backwards. How is that possible? Because when we rotate and spin at different speeds and at different distances, it's called apparent motion. Imagine 2 airplanes traveling at the same exact speed, but one is much further away. The one that is closer, they're going at the same pace, but one that is closer is going to look like it's going faster. So the one that's further away is going to look like it's going backwards. That's the perception and the illusion of a retrograde. So spiritually and astrologically, what happens is you're asked to turn in. Turn in, look inward. What's the issue? What's the judgment? What's the perception? What's the thing that keeps circling the drain in your life? It keeps coming back around, back around, back around, because that's what retrogrades are meant for. Every planet has different definitions. No, they don't do anything to you. They represent parts of you, your psyche, your patterning. So when Mercury is retrograde, Mercury represents beliefs, perceptions, early learning experiences, and siblings. So, and also depending on where it shows up in your chart, what might be happening now in a Mercury in retrograde. Now, we're about to head into Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. It's been in Pisces, where people have, gotten lost or maybe just snuggled down for the long winter, watched Game of Thrones for the 3rd, 4th, 10th time. And now we're looking at moving into a retrograde in Aquarius just for a few days, and then there's the post phase. And is that like a post game? Kinda. You get to review. You see, this is what retrogrades are good for. Retrograde is a Latin word. It means to step back. Let's step back. Let's take a look at how we feel, what we're thinking, what we perceive. What are our judgments? How are they harming or hindering us or someone else? Okay? Does that make sense? So let me just say hello and check in. Hi, Lisa. Dawn. No replays for you today, Dawn. Audra's here. And Vicky. Hurrah. We're here. I'm going to take a sip. I've had a few allergies today. There was such a windstorm here yesterday in Sedona. I was hacking, and both my dog and I were just hacking and sneezing. How are you? Come say hello. So, now, let's talk about the Venus in retrograde. So when Mercury's in retrograde, it's about your perceptions. It's about your judgments. When Venus is in retrograde, which is coming up in May through June of 2020, and Venus goes retrograde approximately every 18 months to 2 years, depending on where it is. And when it makes a conjunction to the sun, that's when it creates what's called the five-pointed star. The five-pointed star. Here, I have where is it? No, that's not it. That was my background. It just changed. Where is my Venus? Oh no. I moved it. I had a five-pointed star image. I don't know. Anyway, I'll find it and I'll repost it. But what happens is when Venus is doing its thing, spinning, plus going around the sun on the elliptic, which is basically a shape of an oval, and when it conjuncts the sun, which means within 8 degrees of, when it gets very close to the sun in astrology, it hits a point, and it does that 5 times in 8 years. And those same 5 points in the same constellations land in your chart. So I took a survey and of men and women. Not all the results are in, but I just want to share with you what can happen when Venus goes retrograde. And you can look, I'll post the dates for you as well, and you can look to see what might have happened in your past. And what happens in any retrograde, right? You're meant to step back and go within. Venus represents protection and defense. That can mean political. That can mean military, not just Mars. It can mean legal. It can also mean your own sense of support in your world. Women in your world may suddenly stop supporting you or not support you in the way that you need them to. Or perhaps someone steps in and champions you. It depends on who you are, your own particular karma, and what's happening and where Venus is retrograde in your chart. Now, coming up for March and April, we're in March already. Wow. I'm going to be doing Venus retrograde readings, and it takes an hour preparation ahead of time, plus a few questions to you. and then an hour for the actual session. And it's good for your entire life. It will last you your entire life, and you will see what the patterning is of the 5-pointed star that Venus produces in your chart and what topics come up. So again, the issues pertain to feminine energy or women, and it can mean finances, healing, art, beauty, protection, and romance. Okay, so those topics show up somewhere in your chart every 18 months or so. I mean, every day, right? We break it down. We can't just separate one thing and go, that's the only thing that's happening. It's a combination of everything. But when Venus goes retrograde, there are very significant changes that happen with your own feminine self. And it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, trans, neutral, or gender nonspecific. What happens is the identification with your feminine energy alters, and or a relationship to a woman changes. Now, you could be inspired by a female author. I literally went bestseller while I was having brunch. I didn't even know. This was about, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. On Amazon, I took the book down to re-edit, and then I made a series out of it, a Sign of the Time series, dedicated to each of the astrological signs, and one soul's adventure through 12 lifetimes. And it's a 13-book series. Teaser. But anyway, I went bestseller because it was about a woman in a Venus retrograde, and all the people who bought were women. So you can have a positive experience, or you could have a not so positive experience. So now let me just check in and say hello to everyone. Audra says, oh no, last Venus retro was not easy for me. Well, it changes every 5 times Venus is retrograde. And it's meant to help you go in and discover your behavior with women, and that can mean family and business, strangers, just the whole psyche identification of feminine and the pressure or the expectation to be fulfilled by you or someone else. Again, it doesn't matter the gender. Caught me live. Yay. Hey, Christine's here too. Okay, so these were the Venus in retrograde dates. And you might want to check your calendar. So go back in time. May and June of 2012. December 13th through January 2014. And that was all the way to the end. July to September 2015. March through April 2017, October through November 2018, and then we're coming up in May through June of 2020. Now, the topics that you can see on the right are womanhood or women, and that means generational. It could be great lineage that has nothing to do with you now that you think, but yet you find a pattern. Because remember, retrograde means going back and examining. And maybe that's when you start a family tree. Who knows? Could deal with your mom, your grandma, your daughter, sister, your best friend. It could deal with finances, romance, self-worth, creative expression, protection and defense, and healing. Okay, so I want you to check these dates. I'll post this again as the video progresses and our talk progresses. So I'm going to read to you. I printed them out. I made a copy in a document, in a Word doc, and I sent out a survey to some friends and family, and I asked them, what was your experience during these dates, the ones that I just showed you? And hi, Gigi's here too. And these are what has been coming in so far. One person said, I finally left my home state and a bad family situation for good. Okay, so it was about protection and defense for this woman. Someone else said, I knew that my mother-in-law's cancer was imminent and she didn't have much time, and she passed in early February 2014. Another person said, breast biopsy came back negative. Yay. And another person said, a change in living situation from sharing a space with an ex-partner to living independently of each other. So, all right, we're talking about finances and romance. Another person said, had a reunion weekend with my oldest girlfriends and also spent time with my sister, who I only see every few years. So that was all about the feminine aspect and reconnecting with. Remember, the re's in retrograde are return, review, release, or renew. Someone else said, I moved my business out of my home and went from a yang space to a yin space slightly below street level. So that's an interesting perspective in what happened, and that had to do with finances and business and the feminine element they included. Someone else said, these are fascinating, aren't they? And I'm going to be doing more. I was like, because I asked other people in the interim, and they said, let me check my calendars and I'll get back to you. So someone else said, I made a commitment to eating healthier and sticking to a high protein, low carb diet that led me to losing 70 pounds. What? That's phenomenal. It was the easiest weight loss I've ever experienced in my life, truly. Years ago, I worked so hard at losing 25 pounds with Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers, but for some reason, this time, and it was any one of the time frames that I picked, I didn't write down which, but it was a Venus in retrograde. It was completely different. I was motivated and good eating habits became like second nature. So that's about health, right? And also image and self-worth. Someone else said, my mother-in-law turned 90, the matriarch of the family, and a huge, all capital, party was given for her. A happy time. So many women in this family attended. So that was about connecting with the feminine and the women in the family. Someone else said, it's the same gal, said my own mother's memorial during one of these dates. And someone else said, my son's girlfriend left him suddenly after they had made plans to marry, build a house, and a family. Quite shocking. So again, the girlfriend left. It was about a relationship and romance. So you see how some of I'm just going to move that aside. Do you see how some of these topics can show up in different ways in your life? And I'm also going to be doing research in the world. There are a few more female candidates running for president. So there's a feminine indication. Who will last through the Venus retrograde coming this May through June? We'll talk about that too. Not so much politics, but what's happening in the world regarding feminine issues. I just posted, I don't know if you saw this on my Facebook page. I don't remember if it was my business page, the Astrology Mojo, or my private, my personal page, that a woman, researcher, physicist, and biologist just discovered a and she's an Aquarian. She's an Aquarian. That's the first thing I looked up. What sign is she? She's an Aquarian. Discovered nanoparticles that could stop cancer cells from growing in 15 days. No chemo, no radiation. So now they're working on human trials, or they're about to begin human trials. So there's the feminine power coming into play as well. And she did this not recently. She did this during one of the Venus retrogrades. So power, right? That's power. So what I want you to consider is, and I'm going to put the link to the session. Again, it's an hour of preparation for me to look at the 5-pointed star in your chart. And this reading shows where Venus has shown up and where it will continue to show and what you can do throughout the rest of your lifetime. This reading lasts your entire life. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, the topics are going to matter and your transformation is going to matter. And let's see, and I'm only doing them in March and April because May I'm going on retreat. I turn 60. And I'm a Taurus. So the Venus retrograde is going to have a huge healing effect on my life. And also I'm reformatting, my husband and I are reformatting some business for me. My astrology masterclass is going to be underway, etc. So let me just put this in. get your Venus in retrograde lifetime reading. There it is. Okay. Ronnie asks, does Venus go retro every year? It goes retrograde approximately 18 months to 2 years, depending on where it's traveling on the ecliptic around the sun. And also, what's happening, excuse me, is that this Venus retrograde will coincide this May with a Mercury in retrograde. So there's a double retrograde that helps you alter your perceptions about these topics. And let me post this again for you so you have these dates. You can check your calendars and see what might have happened. It deals with all these topics. No, wrong way. Deals with all these topics. This is backwards. Women, excuse me, womanhood. It could be generational. It could be about a woman in your world who enters the picture, or someone you know suddenly makes a right turn or does something supportive or not supportive. Finances, romance, self-worth, creative expression, protection and defense, and healing. And these are the past dates, just some of the past dates. And the very next date will be May through June. The pre-phase is also included in that. Mid-May is I think it's May 16th is the technical date that Venus goes retrograde, but you add 10 days prior to that is when it begins. You'll start to feel. And for some people who might be a Taurus or a Libra combo, it's going to last a lot longer than that. And it will go a lot longer than that. And it might deal with, I remember during a Venus in retrograde, and it was a solar eclipse, also combining a solar eclipse in Taurus. The Venus retrograde was not in Taurus, however. I don't remember which sign, and I was just like biting my nails because the eclipse was right on my child's head. And she was only 3 at the time. And I thought, oh, what's going to happen? Like, I just have to, like, protective measures, she was playing, we used to pillow fight so I could teach her how to be a little braver. And what happened was we were pillow fighting and she got hit in the face softly, but in the corner of the pillow was a zipper for the pillowcase and she screamed. And so I went around the house and I took needle and thread. I shoved in all the zippers and sewed. So I was like on protective duty. But what happened was my godmother passed away during that time frame. Someone who was ahead of her time. She was one of the first female attorneys in the 1950s and also had a family and 3 kids. And I was just in awe of her. She passed away, and that was profound for me. It was like she handed me the baton. And then our child potty trained herself. So yeah, it's a mixed bag of stuff, but it's pretty darn cool. I don't know if it retroed in 2011. You'll have to look that up. If you're talking about Venus, you could just look up Venus retrograde dates on Google. Okay, so does this make sense? I'm going to pull a card after I have a little cough. And, here's one big thing I've learned in life. Whether it's a Venus or Mercury retrograde or not, you don't go to bed with wet hair, okay? You come out with like weird lumps. All right, I'm going to pull a happy card for people, an awareness card. Is this making sense? Who's here? Come say hi to me. I will be back. Let me look at my calendar because we're in March already. When did that happen? Oh my gosh. What the heck? Thursday the 5th. I will be back at 10 a.m. And we're going to do more fun things. I'm going to have you pick your own card oracle reading. Come back on Thursday and join. And remember, folks, that the planets, they don't do anything to you. The sun and moon are not planets. They are celestial orbs. But everything has a relationship. Without the sun, we would freeze. Without the moon, we would experience tsunamis as we tumbled out of orbit. Because there is a direct relationship energetically to all things in our solar system. Everything in our body, everything on this planet. You may feel separate, but you're really not. We're connected. Ow, somebody needs a chiropractor. Or at least a hug. So, it did go retrograde during a time in 2011, Ronnie says, when I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. Well, I'm so sorry that you were diagnosed with any kind of cancer. So if it did go retrograde, then you were given some information. Now, just because Venus goes retrograde or any planet goes retrograde, it doesn't mean it's going to suddenly result in, whoa, this card flew out, result in an illness. You know, and this is what I mean when I say the planets don't do anything to you. They are like symbols for you to look at. So if you look now in the sky at night, and you can have a clear night and look up in the sky, the closest to the moon has been Venus. It's the closest it's been to the Earth in a while, and it's just so bright. Does it mean that the planet's doing something to you? No, but you can feel. This is a cooperation. We are feeling each other, everything. And if I were to look at someone's chart and I saw a configuration of Venus going retrograde with Pluto, because Pluto represents core transformation, right? And Venus, feminine issues, like we just discussed. And if I saw something in someone's chart in a health aspect, I might say, it's time to get a checkup. I did have a client 2 years ago that I said, your upcoming year is all about health, and I mean health. And they said, okay, I get it. What else? And I said, no, you don't understand. Everything is about your health, everything. So I want you to get every test possible. And it turns out this person had cancer, and they got it rectified right away, and they're doing fine. So with any kind of information that comes your way, whether it's in a dream or in tarot reading or oracle readings or astrology, please let's not go to, and it's about a responsible reader who will say, what feels like it's coming up is a transformation for you. Now, does that mean a negative thing? Does that mean a tree is going to fall on your house? No. But if you've been ignoring something and you're not working on something, it's going to show itself because you can't hide. Retrograde shows you what you've been hiding from, right? It shows you what you've been hiding from. And sometimes it brings up something so wonderful that it makes you want to cry, okay? Here's what I found. Going through some stuff, I'm cleaning out my kitchen cabinets, and I found this. Our child was almost five, and they drew this and wrote this on a Post-it note for me and my husband. I don't know if you can see that. It says, Mama and Dad, yes. And my husband has always been depicted by my child with 3 hairs on his head. He's actually bald. But yet they wrote the word yes. Yes. Mama and the letter N for and, Dad, yes. Our child is in art school, and I'll post something that they did recently. They won an art contest at school, and now their design will be on all the upcoming T-shirts, sweatshirts, and notebooks for the year. So hoorah. Way to go, Finn. That's Aaliyah's nickname. Okay, so one card flew out, as it often does. Perfection, folks. What's your definition of perfection? As you are moving toward a transformation with compassion and trust, you're in a state of perfection, okay? Just imagine nothing were wrong. What would that feel like? What would that look like? Start utilizing your brain in this retrograde and some technology, because we're moving in this week. We're now moving into the Mercury in retrograde in Aquarius, the 4th through the 9th, and then the post phase. What that means is suddenly things could turn their focus toward, depending on where Aquarius is in your chart, toward that topic or those topics, but also toward technology, space, astrology, higher vibrations. So find those moments where you can meditate and use music or chimes or chanting or something that has a vibe to it that helps you move energy. All right, I'm going to just pull this card. Does that make sense? Leanna's here. Hi, Leanna. All right. This is for the collective. How to negotiate the rest of this week until I see you on Thursday the 5th. What's the best way to negotiate the rest of this week? A card doesn't seem to want to come, so maybe let me do it a different way. Oh, okay. All right. This is fascinating. Suggestion. All right. Now I can understand the hesitation. You have any suggestions? Do I have a suggestion? Yeah, I have a lot of suggestions. Being in the present moment is going to be the most bestest, is that a proper thing to say? Positive thing you can do. The suggestion is, what's happening now? Why am I turning gray? I'm disappearing. Oh, what a world. What is the moment that you're in right now? What does it feel like? What does the second moment feel like? Where is your mind going? Are you wandering and suddenly you're having an argument in your head that happened 14 years ago and you don't even see this person anymore? And you're like, wait, whoa, shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off. Yeah. Florence and the Machine. So the suggestion is be as present in as many moments as possible. Let's end on that note, shall we? Stay sparkly, my friends. I will be back on Thursday, and you can pick your oracle reading on Thursday, and I'll show you some of my kids' fantastic artwork because I'm a proud mama. And be well. And remember, the Venus and retrograde readings last your entire lifetime. And it takes an hour of preparation with some specific questions to you, and then an hour together. And it's recorded and sent to you. And I'm doing those readings in March and April. So think on that, dream on that. Have a beautiful day. Put some love and magic and sparkles into the world. There you go, my lovelies. I'll see you again. Bye.